this is Kristen, the maker behind Yarn Theory, and today we are making a crochet coil tote. While I have the materials and concepts that you should know listed here, this information is also listed on my blog along with the written pattern. The link is available in the description box of this video. So let's get started. I have the materials listed here on the screen, but I'm only going to focus on the fiber. Once again, we are using the 3mm braided cotton cord from the brand Bobany. This is the color Sand, and you'll need about 70 meters of this. You'll need also 7 meters of the soft cotton cord from the brand Gangchet. It comes in this big roll, so as you can see, you'll have a lot left over to use for other projects. Now we'll get started by grabbing our 3mm braided cotton cord and making a magic circle. Before you close off your chain 1, you'll take your soft cotton cord and secure it in place within the chain 1. And now we'll begin to work 6 single crochet stitches within this circle. And as we're working, we are crocheting around our cord. And throughout this project, we will continue to crochet around the cord, and that is what creates the texture that we're going for. Once you've completed your 6 single crochet stitches, you'll notice that there's a gap in the middle of your circle. So take your tail and pull it tight, and that will close up the gap for you. Don't worry about those 2 short ends here. We will weave those in later on. So we will be working in continuous rounds. So grab your stitch marker and place that around the last stitch that you work from round 1. This will help us to know once we've reached the end of each round. For round 2, we will be placing 2 single crochet stitches into each single crochet from the first round. This is also referred to as an increase. Once you get to the end of this round, you should have a total of 12 stitches. Round 2 is complete, and so you will remove your stitch marker and place it on the last stitch that you just created, and now we'll continue on to round 3. In round 3, you will make 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch and then 2 single crochet stitches in the next stitch, and you'll repeat this all the way around. Once you get to the end of this round, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Round 3 is complete. We will move our stitch marker and continue to round 4. In round 4, you will make 1 single crochet in the first and second stitch, and in the next stitch you'll make 2 single crochet stitches, and you'll repeat this around until you get to the end, and you should have a total of 24 stitches. Round 4 is complete. We will move our stitch marker again and continue to round 5. In round 5, you will make 1 single crochet stitch into the first 3 stitches, and then you will place 2 single crochet stitches into the 4th stitch, and you'll continue this around until you reach the end. At the completion of this round, you should have 30 stitches. As you're working, try to be mindful of your tension. If you crochet too tight, you'll start to notice that your circle is curling, and you'll notice as I'm working, I'm trying to stretch and flatten out my circle as I go. I crochet with a tighter tension. So try to just be mindful of that so you don't have to do much adjusting as you go or have too much curling once you're creating the base. Round 5 is complete, and so we'll move our stitch marker and continue on to round 6. In round 6, you will make 1 single crochet stitch into the first 4 stitches, and then place 2 single crochet stitches into the 5th stitch. Once you get to the end of this round, you should have a total of 36 stitches. And the diameter of my base ended up measuring out to about 5.25 inches. So if you want your base to be smaller or bigger, just adjust the amount of rounds that you make for your base. Round 6 is complete, and as you notice, my base is curling up a bit, but don't worry, a easy fix for this is to steam it out and you'll be able to get it nice and flat. What I'm showing you here is what this texture looks like using a different color combination. It's definitely a lot easier to see with this black and white combo, but the point is, even though it's not as easy to see in the base for the sand color that I'm using, you'll be able to see it a lot better once we start working the body. So the body is worked in continuous rounds, and you'll simply place 1 single crochet stitch into each single crochet around. I worked this for a total of 12 rounds. So rounds 7 to rounds 18 will be your body of your bag. This measures out to a height of 6 inches. If you want your height of your bag to be bigger, you can continue going on for a few more rounds. If you want it to be shorter, reduce the number of rounds. But as I said, this is nice and customizable. It's really easy to kind of adjust it to make it your own. So I'm going to speed through this part and come back once I have completed all 12 rounds of the body of the bag. So I've completed the body portion of the bag, and as you notice, I have 2 stitch markers now. The yellow notates where I started the body, the rounds for the body, and then the black just notates the end of the most recent round I was working. And here I'm counting to show you that I had only 12 rounds in the body portion of the bag. And so now I'm going to show you how to finish off this part, and so we can continue on to the handles. First, you'll cut your soft cotton cord, and then before you cut the braided cord, you will make a slip stitch, and then trim it, leaving about an inch tail. And then we're going to close this with an invisible join. And this just makes a nice clean closure, so that way it makes it a lot harder for folks to see where your work ends. And that is it. All we have to do now is weave our ends. You can use whatever method you like to weave your ends. I'm going to do this really quickly off camera and then come back to explain the handles. And so here's our bag. As you can see, the texture using this color combination is very subtle, but it's a lot easier to see in person. And the fabric works up really nice and tight, so you wouldn't have to worry about lining this bag at all. Now we're moving on to the handles. Grab one of your wood rings and then you'll simply crochet single crochet stitches around the entire ring. And here's one that I've already created. I love how the tops of the single crochet stitches create this beautiful braided edge. And then once you're done, you'll just attach it to each side of the bag. So I've already created one off camera, and I'll show you how to create the second ring on camera. So grabbing your 3mm braided cord, you'll make a tail of about 2 inches and you'll secure it around your ring with a slip stitch. And now you'll begin to work single crochet stitches around the entire ring. So there's no really exact count to this. I'm just simply making a single crochet stitch and then sliding it over, making them nice and snug. And I'm going to keep doing this until I can no longer see the wood showing through. So I'll come back once I've gotten to the end of this and show you how I finish it off. So as you see, I'm just working, shifting and adjusting as I go, making sure that it's nice and snug and making sure that I get the coverage that I want. So I'm all done crocheting and now it's time to cut our cord. So you want to leave a nice long tail, so that we'll be using this to attach our ring to the bag. And we'll just finish this off by once again making an invisible join. And once again, I like using this closure method because it creates a closure that looks just like the tops of the other stitches, and it just gives your work a more seamless finish. So I'm just shifting the stitches around, trimming that tail from the beginning, and then just making sure everything lines up nice and smooth. And now we can move on to attaching our handles to our bag. So I've gone ahead and attached one of the rings to the bag, and as you can see, the stitches are nice and neatly hidden within the walls of our bag, and this is perfect as we are not lining our bag. In the Instagram video I sewed through the tops of the stitches to attach the ring to the bag, but we're actually going to do something a little different. We're going to sew it through the third loop that's behind the tops of those stitches, so it's a little easier to see here. We're going to sew through these little loops here that are hidden behind the tops of our stitches. Admittedly, recording this is a little difficult just to make sure I get the right angle, but I'll try my best to be mindful so that you can see how I'm attaching the handle to the bag. I like to start off by flipping the bag around so that the opening is facing me. It makes it a lot easier to sew on the handles. As you can see, the handle is positioned within the first or the top 4 rounds of the bag. So this part you're going to be doing a lot of adjusting and such as you are sewing, so don't feel like you're moving slowly. It's better to work through this part slow so that you get it right the first time. So you want to line up the part of your ring where the tail is connected to the edge of your bag, and we will make our first connection point here. So I'm going to show you how to connect it, and I'll also show you how not to sew this as well. So like I said, you're going to be doing a lot of adjusting and things. Just make sure that your ring is in those first 4 rows, and you'll just kind of eye it and keep it moving. So here I just lined up my ring and determined where I wanted to insert the needle, and then I pulled my cord through. And now you're going to continue sewing and bring the needle back through the body of the bag. You want to make sure that you're not sewing under the tops of the stitch like I'm showing here. That's not what you want to do. So I'm going to remove the cord and show you the correct way. So we're going to insert our needle back through the body of the bag, and then you're going to look on your ring and search for that third loop that's behind the tops of the stitch. So it's a little hard to see here, so I'm going to lift it up a little closer to the camera and show you. And so we want to sew it through, not through here, but through the little bump here that I'm poking at. And you're going to draw it all the way through and pull it nice and snug. And then before we bring it back down and insert it back into the body of the bag, we're going to bring our needle through the next bump and then continue sewing. And so you want to continue working through these bumps here as you're sewing. And as you notice, when I pull it tight, it does not affect the braid that's on the top. It keeps it nice and smooth, and this is just a much better way to attach it to the handle. So as you see, I put it back down so I could eyeball it, put the ring back in position, and determine where I need to next insert my needle. And you'll continue doing this as you go along the perimeter of your ring. Now notice I'm not sewing into every single bump in the back of the ring. You can do this, but you really don't need to. You just need to make sure that you have enough stitches securing it so that the ring is stable, it does not move, it's nice and secure, and that it is flush with the sides of your bag. So here I'm showing you what it looks like if you were to sew through the tops of the stitches. It becomes really wrinkled and it's not neat. But if you sew through the third loop like I'm showing you, your braid will remain nice and smooth, and it'll make for a nice refined finish. So I'm going to speed through this part, finish attaching the ring to the side of the bag, and then I'll come back and just give you a few tips on how you can adjust this bag for yourself or how to make a different style, and then we'll wrap up our tutorial. Reached the last connection point, and we're just making sure that we sew that as close to the top of the bag as possible. And then all you have to do is cut your cord and finish off. So here is the completed bag, and as you see, I just tied a knot here and weave my ends, and the handle is secure. And so I wanted to stick with the mini bag because they are in right now and they're super easy to make and they work up quickly. But you could also adjust this pattern by increasing how large your base is and create something larger. You could also make a bag that has handles that are incorporated into it instead of using wood rings. So I'm going to show you another option that you could do. So here's the bag that I made using the incorporated handles and having a larger base so that the bag works up bigger. So as you can see, you can easily apply this technique to any bag just to add some fun texture to it. Just have fun with the pattern. As always, I like to encourage people to customize things because it's so easy to do, and I'd like for you to make something that is to your preference. So I thank you so much for watching today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. As always, if you like crochet content, definitely don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I have a lot more summer patterns coming your way. Thank you. Bye.